Hello everyone. We yet again have another case of a woman who has escaped a home after being held hostage. Last week on August 16th, a woman would break out a window on the top floor of a home in Louisville, Kentucky, and she began to desperately scream for help. This home was in the 1700 block of Bowling Avenue in the neighborhood of Park Hill, and neighbors would immediately notice this woman yelling and begin to call 911.
This is the scariest thing I've ever seen, You hear a lot of stuff, but not that kind of stuff.
But the neighbors would also begin filming the situation and posting it on social media. Now, I actually originally seen this case on TikTok because there were videos posted of the officers attempting to get the woman out of the house. And in the background, you can hear people laughing and joking around while this woman is literally being rescued after being held hostage. And it really pissed a lot of people off. The commenters were not feeling the neighbors in these videos. They did not agree that this is how they should be acting in that situation. And it just seemed in bad taste, considering this woman had just busted out a window and was being rescued from, being kidnapped and held hostage. So I'll play some of those for you throughout this video and let me know down below how you feel. Officers would arrive on the scene at 7 p.m. that day. They'd first attempt to try to gain access to the home by going through the front door, but it would turn out that the front door was actually barricaded from the inside.
Hey, I'm trying to break a window down. Put the door down? Yeah. I got a bunch of loose.
There's body cam footage of them attempting to kick in the door, and there was also firefighters that attempted to gain access from the front door, but they also had no luck. And the first responders would make their way around the house and realize that they couldn't gain access from any of the doors or windows.
That was hard. Look at that boy. Oh, which window she kick out?
Which meant that they had to find a ladder and use it to climb up the front of the house to go through the window that the woman had broken to scream for help. That was the only way that they were able to save this woman.
He did what? Is he Hispanic?
Inside, police would find 37-year-old Joanna Wilson with a dog chain around her neck, which was secured by a master lock, and that chain was bolted to the floor with screws. Finding a hatchet in the home, the officers were able to break the chains and then use a bolt cutter to free Joanna's neck.
There we go.
Thank you so much.
Which you can all see on camera. 2 days later, police would arrest 36-year-old Moises May, who is currently being charged with kidnapping, 2 accounts of assault, and terroristic threatening. He was also charged with intimidating a participant in the legal process, wanton endangerment, and harassment. As more information would come out, it would turn out that Joanna and Moises actually had a 1-year-old daughter together. They also used to live together in that home, and they were essentially estranged, ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend. And from all the information that I could see, the daughter was not involved in this incident. She is allegedly being taken care of by a family member. And I've also seen stated that Joanna and Moises actually have a relative in common. So it seems like their ties run very deep and their relationship seems extremely complicated, besides the facts of everything that he just did to her. So let's talk about what happened that day. How did Joanna end up chained to the floor in the bedroom of Moises' home, and so desperate that her life was going to be taken that she had to break open a window and scream for help? Well, the details that would come out would be disturbing. This truly is a case of DV that I think would have ended in a very horrible way if Joanna hadn't have gotten help that day. According to an interview that Joanna would do not long after her rescue, that day she had ran into Moises and he had asked her to come over and help clean the house. However, at one point or another, they began to argue, and that is when things escalated. He allegedly got Joanna to the ground and held her down on the bathroom floor. He then began to slap her around, and then he went to the point of grabbing a machete, which he then used to chop off her hair. A literal machete. He then allegedly said, and I quote, "You're going to get it tonight. I told you the last time you'd leave and don't come back, I'd kill you." End quote. He then made Joanna strip naked and chained her to the ground by her neck. He then said, and I quote, "I'm going to take this equipment to Lowe's, and when I come back, I'm going to kill you." End quote. From there, Moises left, leaving Joanna with a very short time frame to get help before he was going to return, fearing for an actual fact that he was going to kill her. And this entire situation allegedly lasted around 5 hours from the time that she showed up there to the time that she got help.
As soon as I seen him lock the door, I knew I wasn't going to get out. He said, "You want to do this the hard way, you want to do it the easy way?" So I want to do it the easy way. So I let him put the chain around my neck, and he started choking me with it. He cut my hair off with a machete. My hair was all the way down to my back. He cut it off with a machete.
I know a lot of people saw the video and they want to help you. How can people help you?
I don't know. I've never been through this situation before. I don't know what to do.
She says what she's wearing are the only clothes she has because her estranged boyfriend set the rest of it on fire.
And to make this situation even scarier, in my opinion, it seems like Moises pre-planned this, or he had an idea that he was going to do this. Because every door in that home was apparently screwed shut, even the windows were bolted shut, the front door was barricaded, the police couldn't get in any of the doors downstairs. And according to Joanna, there were no exits in the house. Now, how Moises left that day, I don't know, but clearly he had a way to get out of the house where no one else could get in because the police couldn't get in when they tried their hardest. And you can kind of tell that Joanna has a lot going on in her life. I don't know whether that be drug problems or anything like that regarding her past. You can just tell she's been through a lot in her life, probably a lot more than we know. Regardless of whatever has happened in her past or whatever she's suffered through and, or if she's been addicted, I don't think it's right that people are using those excuses from her past to dismiss what just happened to her. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a moment, because in my opinion, it's kind of gotten out of hand the way that people are talking about this case. But in my opinion, I think this is a woman that desperately needs help. And I know one of the news stations said that they reached out to DV advocates to try to supply her with some kind of help, because apparently, according to her, she has nothing but the clothes on her back. Apparently, Moises burned all of her clothing and a lot of her belongings. And I can't imagine the trauma that she's gone through, not only that day when he literally attacked her, chopped her hair off with a machete, chained her to a bed and threatened to kill her. It seems like in the past there's probably been a lot more than just that day that has happened. But I really do hope she can realize that she is a lot more than what has happened to her, and that she can move on from what has happened to her and, better her life for not only her, but her daughter. I also wanted to say that Joanna is extremely brave for speaking out against what happened to her. And I think it's really powerful for someone who has experienced what she just experienced to especially go on the news so soon and talk about what happened to her, because a lot of times people that are involved in DV situations, they feel ashamed, they feel like it's their fault, and it's a big problem where people that are experiencing DV or have had DV happen to them don't want to speak out about what's happening to them, and that can lead to situation continuing to go on. However, as I just said, people, especially on TikTok, are in an uproar about this case because of some new videos that have come out about Joanna and of Joanna. And people are going as far to say that Joanna faked this entire thing so that she could steal his house, which in my opinion is a wild accusation to make, considering this woman was just beaten, terrorized, and chained up in a house where she had to literally break a window to escape and get help. So let's talk about some of the videos that these neighbors are posting. In one video, we can see that the police are escorting Joanna to the home she'd escaped from, and it's assumed she's possibly collecting some of her belongings. Now, the next day she returns to the home once again with a woman that people are saying is her mother, and they have a cart. And again, it's assumed that she's there to collect some more of her things, considering she lived there in the past and she seems to have nothing, which, would make sense. However, in another video, Joanna is seen approaching the house with an undisclosed man, and they're carrying bins, and he is carrying some suitcases, and it looks like they're moving into the house, not out of it. And this video has really upset people, and it's leading people to speculate on the situation. And in my opinion, these speculations are pretty distasteful, considering we don't know this woman. We don't know what has happened to her and why she's moving into this house. Maybe she's actually a partial owner of this house, and her abusive ex took the house over and wouldn't let her live there and kicked her out of it when it was really hers or partially hers. Maybe it's owned by one of her family members and they were living there, or maybe it's owned by one of his family members and allegedly they have family members in common. So maybe when they found out what he did to her, they said, it's your house now, you move in, fuck him. Or maybe she just has no money and has nowhere else to go. So the only place for her to go is the home that she was abused in, and she has to go back there. Do you see what I mean? For every negative assumption that can be made, there could be another side to this all. And I honestly think it's pretty uncalled for people to make content where they're just looking at one side of a situation and only looking at it negatively, instead of playing devil's advocate and looking at both sides of things. Like, it's totally fine to speculate, like, why would this woman move back into the house where she was abused? Why is she moving in with this other man? Again, we don't even know who this man is. It could be her brother for all we know that was helping her move in or something. But people want to jump to the conclusion that she faked all of this to get him kicked out of the house so she can move in with her new boyfriend. Now, I haven't seen any evidence of that actually being 100% true. And how do we know for a fact that she did all of this and faked all of this to do that? Again, we don't know this woman's true situation. And I think it's pretty gross to just create gossip for people to talk about online, considering she just survived and was almost murdered, allegedly. Yes, maybe she does have this alleged drug problem. Yes, maybe she is moving back into the house where she was abused by her ex-boyfriend. But that doesn't dismiss the issue that she was involved in a very violent DV situation and that she was almost murdered. And I think that's the problem we have with society. And this has been going on for decades, centuries, where someone who is involved in, say, the sex industry, who's maybe a prostitute or is on drugs or, the lower class of life, are looked down on despite what happened to them because of their past and what they are doing. Just because someone's on drugs or just because someone's homeless doesn't mean that they don't deserve to have a home and to, call the police if they're being attacked and chained to the floor. That shouldn't be the assumption right away. This was a well-off woman who had herself put together, who had her makeup done and her hair done, and she was going back home after being nearly murdered. I don't think people would be saying the same things as they are now because of who the person is. And that's not how it should be. Remember, Moises has been arrested. He is being charged. It's not like she just ran down the street claiming that she was kidnapped and bolted to the floor. The police had to literally climb up a ladder into the house to rescue her because they couldn't get in the house because it was so barricaded. It's messed up no matter which way you slice it. But honestly, I am talking so much about this because I think it gives the true crime community a really bad rap when people go around on social media talking like that. Again, it's okay to speculate to some degree and do critical thinking, but again, you have to do that while looking at all the possibilities. You can't just say this person's manipulative and bad because of their situation in life. It just doesn't make sense. And to all the people who say that they wouldn't move back into that house after what happened to them there if that was them in this situation, not everyone has the options or the money, especially now in this day and age with the current housing crisis and inflation and everything going on in the world. Not everyone has the option to just move somewhere else. Maybe she doesn't have a family member that she can stay with. Or maybe she doesn't have a job or the money to just go rent somewhere else or to go buy a new home. Maybe her only option is to move back into that house. Again, we don't know her or her situation. Again, maybe she owns the house or one of her family members owns the house, or you know what I mean? Maybe it's not his house. And again, maybe she has nowhere else to go and she's doing the best that she can. But what do you all think? Currently, Moises is pleading not guilty and his bond has been set to $100,000. According to authorities, he's also been placed on a DV unit where he'll be interviewed and then processed. So that's all the information we currently have. I think his next hearing is going to be at the end of the month, or I think a couple days from now. It's almost the end of the month. This month has flown by, guys. I can't believe it's almost the end of August already. I don't know where the summer is gone. But either way, I want to know how you all feel about the situation. I don't really see anyone talking about it. I think this is a case that's very interesting to me, and I think it's also a very great case to show people that no matter what situation you are in, it is worth fighting for your life. Your life is worthy of saving. And I think this is a great case to talk about concerning DV, because DV comes in all shapes and forms. And again, I really do think that if she hadn't gotten out that day, that Joanna probably would have been murdered. And this would have been a totally different case that we're talking about today. So let's have a chat about this down below. As always, if there are any other cases you want me to look into, let me know down below and I will take a chance to look into them. And with that, I hope you all stay safe out there, lock your windows and doors, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.